So you mentioned a little bit about like you've gone so far without a record label. So do you think that's something that will happen in the future? Is there any interest for it, or do you rather stay independent?
We definitely want to stay independent because one thing that we realized with record labels and even just being an artist in general, there's a very strong push to go into the stream. Whatever is popular now, if you want to be relevant, you should be doing it. And this was an argument we had very early on is like, how are we going to be a band? Are we going to go electric? We're going to have electric guitars. We're going to have electric fiddles. And we decided very early on at the very beginning that no, we want to keep it acoustic because we want something organic and beautiful. And not that electric guitar can't be music, but there's something about the electric nature of it, which just takes it one step away from something that was very organic. Folk music came from the people, and it was a general expression of people's hearts. And so we wanted to use folk instruments. We do have an electric guitar, but we also have an upright bass. So that's an acoustic. So we have electric bass and upright bass, but that's about as electric as we get. So that was kind of a very conscious decision. And we used to play with Avett Brothers when there were three guys in a van. We've been there. We played with Mumford and Sons and hung out with Mumford and Sons, and you see certain things, that are exploding. I mean, they were not electric either for the most part. They had electric keyboard and stuff, but you're sometimes tempted to go in the way of the mainstream. And so we decided to stay out of the record labels so that we could be purely just inspired and try to be unique to who we were rather than trying to fit ourselves into what the label wanted or what the pop charts are telling us to be. And it's been hard. I mean, it's been 20 years of basically, the best analogy is like you're in the middle of the ocean, so you can never stop treading water or you will drown. And that's what it's like to be self-managed, self-label. But the freedom that we've had is, if you go to we have 16 albums. If you look at our 16 albums, the breadth of the styles of music that we play, it's so broad, but as an artist, that is so fun that we can just be like, this is going to be a bluegrass song. This is going to be Americana. This is going to be Ukrainian. This is going to be a pop sounding song. We have that freedom because we are our own record label.
Do you feel like having your own record label kind of helps you stay away from a lot of the politics or some of the immorality or drama that goes on in most of the music world?
Well, and especially if there's any artists that are watching this, the one thing you're going to start learning is there are gatekeepers. And you're only going to get to a certain level unless you pay homage to the gatekeepers. And the gatekeepers, they're the ones that are forming the culture, and there's a very specific plan that they have in mind. And it's kind of like the Beatitudes. If you live your faith, and you don't even have to be explicit, if you're not putting out smut, or if you're not putting out something subversive or bad, but you're just doing something that's good and beautiful and wholesome, you're going to find that you're going to start getting kind of relegated or pushed towards obscurity. But it's those people that are willing to kind of like be rebels and push the agenda of these gatekeepers. They get lifted up. So you get pushed aside, and then they get pushed forward because you don't have the credentials that they're looking for. The amount of talent that's out there, it's not the most talented people that are, the most famous. And very often I'll meet, I tour. I meet these musicians. I'm like, these people that didn't make it, but they kind of kept their own identity, are some of the most talented musicians I've ever met. And as any artist, that's kind of, and that's why it's so much work to do it yourself, is not only are you not being supported by these, record labels and stuff, you're actually being pushed down by them because they don't want you to succeed. They want their people to succeed. And so you have to be sly as serpents if you're self-managed artist. You have to figure out ways of getting around the gatekeepers, of connecting to people directly. And I think that's almost it's like this. Music and the role of music was created to give people release. And it's an expression of people's hearts, but it was there as an act of service originally. It was never to make you famous. And that's, I think, with any art. If you look at all the great sacred artists, yeah, they wanted to make a living. They had patrons, Michelangelo, this or that, but it was definitely a strong element of giving glory to God and creating something beautiful for people. But this whole modern, with Spotify and record labels and all that, it's geared towards a cult. And the record industry created this. You need to have rock stars, to push their agendas, but also that's what sells.
Mm-hmm.
And so it's in order you want to be famous, with TikTok and social media, everyone wants to be famous, and that's the end goal of the music. And so there's something upside down by that. But when you're not part of it and you're kind of having to fight just to keep your, make a living for your family, you kind of start coming back in contact with the original meaning of the music. You're like, no, it's whoever buys a ticket that's in the audience. That's why I'm able to feed my wife and baby. So I feel so much gratitude. So it becomes an economy of generosity where, like, because you were generous about a ticket and came to the show, my heart is open towards you. So I give myself to you. But then you feel so grateful that I'm focusing and giving 110% that you in turn will get up and start clapping and dancing. And the show just builds and builds. And that's what has set Scythian apart, I believe, these 20 years is we've had so many organizers say, I've never experienced what I experience at your shows. Like, your fans are the kindest people. And there's so much joy. And they're just like, they're kind of confused. Oh, I've had that said time and time again. And I think that's what they're experiencing, but they don't know how to put the finger on it. And I think that's kind of the result of, if you choose to live in a way where you create something that's true and good and beautiful, and you're being very, very deliberate in your choices of the art you make. Because there's a lot of temptation to be like, I'm just gonna go this way because this is what sells. I need a heavier beat. I need a dubstep. Dub is in right now, so I need a dub drop. Whatever, you're kind of tempted always because you're like, if I just did this, then it'd be so much easier. And then you have to make this decisions are like, well, is that in keeping with my calling as an artist? And what was my original dream? And how have I shifted from that original dream in order to survive or in order to be accepted by my peers? So there's all these temptations that you're constantly going to be facing as an artist.